I am proud to be an Uncle Tom. I've had so many people chatting rubbish on the internet about how you're an Uncle Tom, how you this. And I'm like, how long can I leave it without telling people the truth? When you call me an Uncle Tom, it empowers what I'm doing. Because I know that you don't know what the actual meaning of Uncle Tom is. So it is a brief history. It starts off from the book, Uncle Tom's Cabin. It was produced in March of 20th, 1852. It's an anti-slavery book from the writer called Harriet Beecher Stowe. The book had a major influence in the way American public actually viewed slavery. So this book, this is America's greatest novel of all time. There was an article in the Boston Morning Post, and it made a bold claim, and that was that everybody in America was either reading it, has read it, or is about to read this book. The only book to beat it that century was the Bible. It's so misrepresented. It's unbelievable. Both black supremacists and the self-hating white liberals have come to the conclusion that the main character, Uncle Tom, is this sellout enemy to all black people. He's the hero of the story. Comment now if you know the book. So the reason why Uncle Tom is the hero is because he was a nice guy. He was on this nice plantation with decent slave masters, but he had to be sold. So eventually, after handling, he got to a really nasty plantation where himself and his newfound Christianity faith was really tested. He was told to whip other slaves, and he refused to because he's like, I'm a Christian. You know, it's not something that I can do. What the slave master wanted to do was to beat God out of him. Although he gets these beatings, he gets these whippings, he continues to read the Bible, and he also reads it and explains it to other slaves on the plantation, and it gives them comfort. The slave master, he also owns some sex slaves. He gets to this stage where he can't take any more, and he has two visions. There's one vision of Jesus, and he has one vision of a little girl called Eva. Now, if you go back to the beginning of the story, Eva's a child who introduced him to Christianity in the first place. With that, it restored his faith. And what he did to these two sex slaves is he told them, you've got to go. You've got to get out of here, get to Canada, where you can be free. You literally can be free. So they made a plan, and they've gone. And the slave master, he knows Tom has something to do. So he gets some overseers. One of them guys is called Sambo. And he tells them, look, we need to find out where these guys are going. I want my property back. So what you need to do is beat it out of him. So the overseers beat him to get the information. And Uncle Tom wasn't giving it up. He said, no, that ain't happening. When he was close to death, he looked up to them and he was like, do you know what? I forgive you. And the overseers was like, wow, this guy's so humble. I'm going to look into Christianity. And he converts into the life of Christ. That's the type of person that Tom was. You beat me and you say you forgive me. What's all that about? The two slaves do get to Canada. They run off, get to Canada. Uncle Tom is not a bad thing, because the guy literally didn't sell out black people. He helped women, children. He was a pillar of the community. People loved him. So why is it bad to be an Uncle Tom? Why is it? It's not. But these dumb people who keep saying it, the black supremacist people, they don't know nothing. They just regurgitate what people are saying. So, after this book was released, many Americans deemed him as the highly respected person he is. You know, all throughout the country, mainly because of what Harriet Beecher Stowe did was show Tom the slave from a human personality, rather than people at the time who were just saying slave one, slave two. This is what. There's no connection. There's no emotion to that character. But over time, it shows a decline in our society, right? Because the black folk, the self-hating white liberals, they're looking at this guy as a spineless character, someone, a weak individual, someone that would rather protect white people, to fight the slave masters, to rise up as one and overthrow the white slave masters. It's the same way as a house Negro. You know, they say that's an insult too, but the way I look at it, and they're looking at it from a completely different view, is how can you change the opinion of the white slave master if you're picking cotton in the field? You need to be that house Negro that eats with them, sleeps with them, has got the nice bed, that he can interact, who's an intellectual, who's got good education. To say to them that this is wrong, you not see that, this is the thing, blah blah blah, because they've got a different connection, a more than a slave worker connection. The whole thing is wrong, and I'll tell you why. It's because of the media. Even in the 1800s, the media have been pumping out fake news about this character. They can't have a black character that white folk love, that see him as a hero, saw him saintly of what he did. They can't have that. So every time from there, it was put out in the media, put out on the TV, whatever. Uncle Tom, you would see him as a man who was older than what he was illiterate, was dumb, who would actually sell out the black people in favour for himself. Something that Sambo did, not Tom, but in the theatre shows, in the TV shows or whatever, it shows a completely different character from the book. And to push these narratives, you need big celebrities. So over time, people have been saying, people like Malcolm X, I remember him calling him a race traitor. Muhammad Ali is another person who went out to call people Uncle Toms, who didn't call him by his new black supremacist Nation of Islam name of Muhammad Ali. That's how you change a good guy to become a bad guy. If we take it now, it's Uncle Ben. What have they done? Aunt Jemima can't do pancakes and syrup. Uncle Ben, he lost everything. I feel sorry for the old fella. What you don't know is Uncle Tom, same as Uncle Ben, both based on real characters. Uncle Tom was based on a guy called Josiah Henson, who used the Underground Railroad to gain his freedom. Right? So it's not just an imaginary character. It was based on somebody. So the fact that they've misconstrued a real character and have turned him into this horrible person and an insult to be called is incredible, because the person you need to do is Sambo. Sambo did everything for the white guy. He was the one who beat Uncle Tom. He was the one who whipped the black slaves. If the white person told him to do something, Sambo would do it. Do you know what? Quite ironic. Calling someone a Sambo today is protected under a racial discriminatory, we will cancel you if you say it. But yet he really was the bad guy. Can't call someone a Sambo, you can call someone an Uncle Tom. Imagine that. But the next episode is going to be all about Sambo, because let's just spit the truth on this channel. Thank you for your time. I'm Danny Roscoe, and I'm a proud Uncle Tom. In a bit.